Well, guys, this has to do with the Constitution and these people in the government trying to take away your firearms or try to limit them in any way. Trouble is, we've been intimidated by their schooling. They went to school to become lawyers, and they should know the law, and so we're intimidated by them because we haven't studied the law. Well, the Constitution, people, was written in such a way that even a 10-year-old kid could understand it. Period. You don't need a lawyer. You are your own lawyer. You've been buffaloed. You've been intimidated by Congress. And I'll tell you something. Things used to be okay at one time. Then after the Civil War, they started taking on this thing called Darwinism, published by Charles Darwin in 1859, and it changed people around. There was a deliberate effort by the president of the Harvard University, Charles Eliot, to change things, to introduce evolution into the teaching of law. So he hired Christopher Langdale as the dean of Harvard Law School from 1870 to 1895, who changed from using Blackstone's commentaries that had all the good principles in it to a case law approach, studying the writings of judges. Okay? Anyway, over years, when they studied these doggone judges, it changed the Constitution around. They didn't study the Constitution anymore, people. All these highfalutin lawyers you see, and so-called constitutional lawyers, they only studied what other judges said about the Constitution, not the Constitution itself. Thus, they made the judge the law and not the Constitution. Yeah, this is Vanderbilt University, one of the better law schools in the country. We never read the Constitution. We just read what judges said about it. Thus, the judges become a law unto themselves. That's what's going on in your Congress right now. You think everything that comes from Congress or from the Supreme Court is law? There's too much politics involved in it. You see what their schooling was like? I just told you. That's the way it's been. There's very few people in this country that studied the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, or the Federalist Papers. You have to study that stuff in order to have a correct interpretation of what the Constitution says. But they don't care. They just give them a diploma and send them on their way. It's crazy. Okay, now, a lot of people say, well, if you look at they say that the Interstate Commerce Clause. No. If you look at your Constitution, there's no such thing as interstate commerce. There's only commerce. Commerce is a buying and selling of goods, and they only put that in the Constitution to prohibit the states from imposing taxes and toil on merchandise as it transported through the states for the purpose of buying and selling. Then they got the General Welfare Clause. Exemption from any unusual evil or calamity, so on and so forth. It has nothing to do with handouts, public relief, or the feds doing whatever they think is a good idea. Look on Federalist Papers number 41. That points it out. They are strictly limited, primary to what is Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 to 16. The framers understood the general welfare as the enjoyment of peace and prosperity, and the enjoyment of ordinary blessings of society and civil government was only possible with a federal government of strictly limited powers. The necessary and proper clause, people. That's a clause that only permits the execution of powers already delegated in the enumerated powers in the Constitution. No additional powers are granted to the above clause. Well, what happens with this Commerce Clause is the Supreme Court, without wisdom, they give the Congress extra power that's not in the Constitution. There's no such thing as interstate commerce. But they give them that power. They perverted these powers in order to pass these firearm laws. That's got to go. All these firearm laws I told you are unconstitutional. Period. Okay. The Second Amendment to our federal Constitution recognizes that we have a God-given right to keep and bear arms, and it's to be free from any interference whatsoever from the federal government. Accordingly, the federal government is nowhere in the Constitution granted authority to abridge, restrict, or infringe in any fashion whatsoever guns or ammunition. Thus, all restrictive laws made by Congress and all regulations made by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms are unconstitutional, as they are outside the scope of powers granted to Congress and to the executive branch by our Constitution. Restrictions of arms and ammunition is not one of the enumerated powers delegated to Congress or to the executive branch. Tried to tell you before, and I'll say this one more time. If you look after the word infringe, there's no subparagraph A, B, C, D, or E. What would stipulate what an acceptable infringement would be. Therefore, all infringement is forbidden. That's why I put up the preamble to the Bill of Rights. All infringement is forbidden. They are constitutionally barred from infringing upon your right. Period. That's how it goes, people. You know, the evidence is overwhelming that in favor of the interpretation of the Constitution, they deliberately intended the specific words that they chose to use, and with specific ways they choose to organize those words into a long sentence to recognize the existence of both a collective and an individual right of Americans to keep and bear arms. The Second Amendment to the United States Constitution ratified and preserved for every citizen the right to keep and bear arms, and moreover, that neither Congress or any other instrument of the federal government is constitutionally barred from infringing upon that right. Here's the thing, people. In law, the best evidence of the rule states, the best evidence rule, states that the original document or any other original item of proof is available is be accordingly a higher degree of credibility in the courtroom than a copy of secondhand proof. We have that proof. It's called the Federalist Papers. It's called the Declaration of Independence. You know, Thomas Jefferson, he said, out of every question that they come up with about the Constitution, question the construction, let us carry back ourselves to the time when the Constitution was adopted, and recollect the spirit manifested in the debates, and instead of trying to twist what meaning we can be squeezed out of the text or embedded against it, confirm to the probable cause, the probable one which it was passed. That's how it goes, people. They buffaloed you. They think, oh, wow, we're lawyers, and we've intimidated these people, and we can do whatever we want. No, no. You people are the beneficiaries of the Constitution. Remember that. You are the beneficiary. Congress, the federal government is a strictly limited creature. And these people, to accrue powers out of the thin air, is unbelievable. You've got to stop them now. Like I said, they try to use that Commerce Clause, people. And it's only there so that Congress can regulate commerce among the states. It's not a power to regulate anything that affects commerce which is principle, that would be everything, and it would be too pointless to impose all that by Indian enumeration. But rather, the Commerce Clause was meant primarily to restrain the state power to ensure free flow of goods and services among the states. Congress was given the power to regulate such commerce to make it regular. These limitations are reinforced by the Necessary and Proper Clause, which means what's available to Congress that's necessary, proper, necessary under the enumerated powers. So, like I said, people, don't be afraid of these doggone firearm laws that they're passing. They're null and void. They know they never had the power or authority under the Constitution to do such things. They've been blackmailing you all this time. Oh, you know, it's kind of like, what do they call it? Their laws are like the color of law. They have the color of law, but there's nothing to back them up. There's nothing in the Constitution to give to Congress or any other part of our executive branch to pass these laws. Read the Constitution. Here you are, you're scared, you're not a lawyer, you're sending money to the NRA, the GOA, and everybody else to protect your rights. Congress never had the right to blackmail you or to intimidate you or to buffalo you into thinking that they are God. They are not God. In the Supreme Court, that's another thing that pisses me off to no end. They didn't study the Constitution. They're up there trying to interpret what it means. Like I said, they're too damn political. Now, they're breaking their oath, and they should be removed. It's called bad behavior. If they don't understand the Constitution, they need to step down, walk away, bury their head someplace. Read the Federalist Papers. Read your Constitution. Read the Declaration of Independence. You'll find out that your government, the one that's up there right now, are liars, cheaters, trying to intimidate you. Oh, I'm a lawyer. I don't care. My dog has papers too. But the papers don't make the dog. Thanks for watching. That's about all I got to say today. For God's sake, people, pick up your Constitution. Read it. It will tell you what the law is. It's not what Congress says it is. It's not what your Supreme Court says it is. You people are the keepers of the Constitution, not the government. Not the government. The Constitution there is to restrain Congress, not to restrain the people. Thanks for listening.